If you heard about Via Ferrata and you are curious into knowing how to start, from where, what to do, how to do it, where to go, how it works, how dangerous it is, well, this is the right place to be in. I will introduce you first to the basic safety equipment that you have to have with you on a Via Ferrata. Then I will give you some extra on the system, what makes it better, what will make your experience better, to then take you with me on the Via Ferrata and explain to you one by one the elements of this Via Ferrata, the danger, and then good to know things to do when going and exposing yourself out there to the elements. This is an easy Via Ferrata. It is spectacular. It gives you views to the water. They usually are on top of the mountains or in the mountains where your life will mostly be in danger. So you have to be careful about it, because if you don't master the safety rules properly, then you might get into trouble. Basic equipment to have with you on a Via Ferrata. First things first, as you see, I already put it on the helmet. You have to have a helmet, no question asked. Don't think at what you see on internet, on other videos. You have to have a helmet, always. Second thing, there are multiple harnesses around, but on Via Ferrata, in 99.9% of the cases, you'll use a sitting harness like this, and this one is for rock climbing. There are two more harnesses that you can use on a Via Ferrata, a full body harness if you require special circumstances, and then the canyoning sitting harness. I recommend to go by default with a rock climbing sitting harness and don't use anything else. There are mountaineering harnesses and they are very dangerous. You should not use them on the Via Ferrata because they are not projected, they are not made to withstand a fall on a Via Ferrata, and you might put your life in danger. To be safe, just go with a rock climbing sitting harness. Now, they all provide the same level of protection, all of them. What differentiates them is the build, the comfort, the manufacturer, the brand, and things like that. But at the end of the day, as a beginner, make sure you have a rock climbing harness. Then, if you have the money, invest into something that people on internet say it is either durable or more comfortable with more features and so forth. You don't need it, but if you want and you have the money, why not spend them? The other essential safety element in your Via Ferrata system should be the Via Ferrata set, this one here. Well, not only this one, any Via Ferrata set. The name of it is Via Ferrata set. This one here has three components. It has this loop that will go to the belay loop, which is this one of the sitting harness. This black thing here is the shock absorber, and then you have these two elasticated arms. That's pretty much all. Helmet, sitting harness, Via Ferrata set, and you are good to go. Now, to make your experience on a Via Ferrata even better, I recommend gloves. I have these half finger gloves. There are multiple times full finger, half finger, and some fingers gloves. I use these ones a lot because I like them. And the other thing that I recommend you have on a Via Ferrata with you is something to rest, a resting system, I call it. What that means? It means that to your sitting harness, you'll clip something that will help you statically sit when on a Via Ferrata in need for rest. For my case, I have this Ypsilon here, lanyard. This is what I have, with one shorter, one longer. This is not elasticated, doesn't have a shock absorber, this is static, this is a lanyard. The purpose of this is to use it and rest when I am on Via Ferrata, also to do some other things. To recapitulate, basic safety equipment, helmet, sitting harness, and Via Ferrata set. Then additionally, you should have gloves and a resting system. This is my recommendation when it comes to a Via Ferrata safety system out there. Let's now put them together for you to see how I'm doing it. Now you are closer to me. It is important for you to see what happens here in this area. We start with the sitting harness. These are the leg loops, then this is the belt with the belay loop. What I'm doing is I put in the leg loops. So I have leg loops in, and of course the belt loop onto my body as well. The sitting harness is above my hips here. What I'm doing now here is I'm making sure this is properly tightened. So now this puts pressure on my body. When I go like this and I'm trying to take it out, it doesn't go, which means this is properly tightened. And you see, I'm a bit fat and they don't reach the ends here. They are supposed to reach, but not for my current situation. I'm a tad fat, and that's okay. Good. This is here the belay loop. This is the belay loop here, and this is the belt, right? So leg loops, the belt, and the belay loop. You only use the belay loop going forward. You don't care about the utility loops. This don't save your life. Only this one, the belay loop here. Next thing to put is the Via Ferrata set. So what we do is in here, so this is the belay loop here. In here, we put through it, through the belay loop. Let me make sure you see it. So through the belay loop, you see? Through the belay loop, we put this loop here. Now what I do is I cross the carabiners, the elasticated lanyards, I cross them through this loop. And look what I have now, you see? This is fixed to the belay loop. This is the belay loop. This is the belay loop here. This is the belay loop. This is the loop of the Via Ferrata set. This is the shock absorber. And these are the two elasticated arms. Now that this is fixed, so this is properly fixed, I will clip it here to my left on the utility loops. Done. Good. Now, next thing is the resting system. This is my resting system. You can have anything else, a quick draw, whatever. But I have this one, any other lanyard from Petzl, whatever. For my case, I have this Y. And what I do now, let me show it to you. What I do now is I go as before through the belay loop. You see, through a belay loop. And now it has here another loop. It has to go through that. This is how you fix this one. This is how they made it. Why is not relevant, because you don't care about that. I already say it on the channel. I can explain it more if you really need, but you don't. Good. So now, look here. This is nicely fixed. You see, this is nicely fixed. It's nicely fixed, and it goes smooth everywhere. This is perfect now. This is again fixed to the belay loop. This is the belay loop here. Good. So to the belay loop we have fixed these two, the Via Ferrata set and the resting system. Perfect. I have the sitting harness is properly fixed on my body. Then I have the Via Ferrata set, the resting system, the helmet, and now follows the gloves. And that's that. Now I'm properly, fully equipped. Later we'll test this. So just because we put them on is not enough. We have to test them, but later. So this is how I look. Ignore this. This I have the cables, the lavalier, the cameras. Ignore that. So what I have now is helmet, sitting harness, Via Ferrata set, and resting system with gloves. Perfect. Now let's go to testing the equipment. We are here on the Via Ferrata. I'm already connected with the elasticated arms of the Via Ferrata set. Let's first test them, and then I will explain the rest one by one. So what I'm doing is I'm putting this under tension to make sure this holds me. I'm keeping it safely at home, but I want to make sure it is properly stored, and in case I fall, this holds me, and to make sure I made the knots, everything. So this is under tension and it appears it holds me. I will test the resting system. So I clipped the resting system and I'm making sure this is under tension, heavy tension. It holds me. When I will need to rely on the whole system, I know it holds me. Last test, because you should never trust your equipment blindly, is to connect the smaller side of a resting system, and it holds me as well. Perfect. This is an easy stress test. On other Via Ferrata in better locations, you can do this by properly sitting into the equipment, floating practically. And in that case, you get to know that it holds, at least statically, the weight of your body. Now, look, this is a bolt. The way I'm calling it is an anchor point. This is an anchor. It holds the safety steel cable. Via Ferrata, by the way, is made of a safety steel cable that goes from start to the end. It never ends. Well, it depends on the Via Ferrata, but usually it never ends. This, from the start to the end, will keep going. If you don't have it, it means you don't need it. But in the majority of the cases, 99.9%, you have a safety steel cable. This safety steel cable is anchored with these anchors and whatever elements it has here. This is an anchor, this is the cable, them together create an anchor point. When you reach with your Via Ferrata set this point, you can no longer go. And now comes the explanation why you have two elasticated arms with your Via Ferrata set. All Via Ferrata sets have two elasticated arms for a good reason. The idea of the safety equipment is to keep you at any time connected to the safety steel cable. In case you lose control, something happens, you fall into the safety equipment, not to the ground to drop and die. So what happens is you have two elasticated arms for a good reason. When you get to this point when you can no longer continue, right? What you do is you disconnect first one. You see, now I'm connected with the other one. This is why you have two. I'm connected with the other one. And what I do with this that I disconnected, I'll clip it after the anchor. Now I disconnect this, but because I clipped that, I'm still connected. You see, in case something happens, I'm connected. And I clip it after, below, in this case is below the anchor point. This whole process, I call it anchor point transition. Good. Now we keep going, and then I will show you something else. As a beginner, with one hand, hold the safety steel cable. Of course, on a Via Ferrata, you don't go backwards as I'm doing it, except when you descend like this. It is why I'm going backwards, because I'm descending. The best way is backwards. I want you to see something interesting. You see here at my carabiners, there is something interesting if you pay attention. This is clipped like this, and this is clipped in the opposite direction. Can you see it? Can it make sense? The idea is, if by chance one disconnects me with the hands, I cannot disconnect the other one as well, because if I have them here all together, I might by mistake disconnect them both at the same time, and if I do that, I'm in danger. Hence, I'm putting them like this. This is one reason. There is a couple of more soft reasons why. There is a video on the channel explaining it, and probably I'll create another one to explain it freshly. Now, with one hand, always with only one and the same hand, I disconnect, still connected. You see, still connected. Reconnect. Now I disconnect this other one, but it's connected to the other one, and I reconnect. And this is the anchor point transition. You might wonder what shoes to have. I use La Sportiva TX4. They are approach shoes, and they are just amazing. It is full of seagulls here. A very important rule on Via Ferrata and also in rock climbing is every time you advance like this, make sure when you do the anchor point transition, for example, make sure you have 3 resting points. One hand is the one holding the camera. Now, this one holds here. I make sure in case I lose control, I will hold with this. And then both legs are in a very stable position. So now, what will happen is, I will make the transition. So I'm in the resting position. You see, I don't have to do anything to hold myself in that resting position. It depends from Via Ferrata to Via Ferrata, segment to segment. It's not always as easy, but as a rule. Now, with one hand, the same always, what do? I disconnect. I'm still connected with the other one, and I connect, in this case, below, because I'm still descending. Now, I disconnect this, and I am connecting it below. They are in reverse order, and that's that. Now I am continuing. It is still a descent. I will see you when I will progress on the horizontal, because I want to explain some things there as well. This is a very important case scenario. We are way above. You see the safety steel cable is there. We are way above it. Way. If we fall from here, we create fall factor. Fall factor means bad. When you hear fall factor in Via Ferrata, it means very bad. So to reduce, now the fall factor here, it's quite high. To reduce it, what do? We go below the safety steel cable. We should always be below. You see, that one is the safety steel cable. We are still a tad above it. We have, give me a moment to make the transition. we have to go way below it. So now I'm chest level here, which is good. And what I'm doing is something even better. I'm going way below, you see? Now I'm neck level, and this is healthy. Another situation here is this peg here, rung, what's the name of it? You should not put your Via Ferrata, you should not clip your Via Ferrata set to this. This is not for that. Your Via Ferrata set should always be clipped to the safety steel cable, always. Now, you have this and you want to rest. Best to do when it is about resting is you take your resting system and you clip it here. Let me show it to you. Let's see how I managed to do this. You see, I clip the resting system to that. Now, in case this breaks, if I put the Via Ferrata set here as well, this has a high probability of breaking. And if this breaks, it is very dangerous because you fall to the ground and you can die. It is why you should always keep the Via Ferrata set clipped to the safety steel cable, and only by resting or with your hands you'll hold onto this. This has high probability of failure. The Via Ferrata safety steel cable is very hard to break. It is made to hold you and many more, and huge fall factors. Then even if this anchor, let's suppose this anchor fails, anchor point here, you have one above and one below. So the safety steel cable will always be grounded into the wall. So you have to pay attention to these things. Via Ferrata set always on the safety steel cable. Then the resting system, you see now I'm resting, and this is another example that you need to see and know about. I'm resting now. Let's suppose I'm tired and I want to rest. What I do is I clip this and I'm resting. Another thing, if you don't have these elements, like these pegs here, rungs, what you do is you clip, you see I clipped the resting system to the safety steel cable, which is this one here, and now slowly I put it under tension, slowly, okay, slowly. And now I'm resting. I don't jump into it. I slowly load this static lanyard. Now you see the length of this is exactly the length of my arm, which is good. In case something happens, I can always reach the safety steel cable. Now this is a bridge. This is a bridge. It is a joke of a bridge, but it is a bridge, which is a good example for our case scenario here. So you are on a bridge, and the problem with bridges like this, if you lose control, you might deploy and fall. You might deploy your Via Ferrata set. Even if you don't deploy the Via Ferrata set, this is still long. Extended is more than the length of your arms. And if this happens, if you fall below the line here, it will be very hard to recover. I have a video on the channel that explains how to do it, but you don't want to get into that situation, not to say when you are a beginner. My recommendation when crossing this type of bridges is to always clip your resting system as well. Why? Because if you lose control then and fall, the length of a fall, first of all, it is static. So for you to fall, you have to release your arms. But when you get like this, into this situation, so let's get into this situation. Now you are about to fall, and first you grab with your hands. Now, so if you lose control, this is it now. So let's suppose I lost control. Again, this is a joke of a bridge, I was saying, no? But let's suppose I lost control. The first thing I'm doing is I'm grabbing with my hands. Let's suppose I'm too heavy, I'm getting scared, I'm sleeping, whatever, and now I'm releasing. Because this loaded almost statically, so nothing bad here, and because it is the length of my arm, I can easily recover. This is the reason why I recommend that you do it. It keeps you safer, nothing more. Of course, this is a static element on the line, which makes it dangerous. It can break your whole system, so you have to pay attention on how you load it. It should always load it. It should always be loaded almost statically. Good. So these are the bridges. This is how you cross bridges. Now, let me show you another case scenario. We are here on this horizontal. Now, look at the drop. It's not big. You still can fracture your skull. So you always have to pay attention, always. But what I want to point, it is best to clip your resting system as well. Why? Because you are not above the line. So if I fall here, let's suppose something happens and I fall, I load this statically. You see, it will hurt on your body, definitely. Can it break the system? Not, because it's not a long fall, it's not a lot of slack into the resting system to load it dynamically, to break the belay loop, for example, or itself, or who knows what else. Now, ideally on this, you always keep it under tension when you go on the horizontal, or almost under tension. But if you have it, again, if you lose control and fall, you don't extend the elasticated arms, because if that happens, it might be that it becomes impossible to recover and touch back again the safety steel cable to proceed. On many Via Ferrata, not to say on the overhanging Via Ferrata, this is a situation that can happen. And if it occurs, good luck. There is no way to recover. I can tell you that. I've tested, I've tried, and there is no way to do that. But by having the resting system, if you lose control, again, this will extend, and you can reach with your arms and recover back again. And in here, the way we advance is like this. We have also the resting. Again, this is, you see, I dropped. So this is loaded immediately. It's not that it's dynamic loading. Look, it's static. Nothing can happen to your sitting harness, for example. But you have to pay attention. These teachings here are not scientifically proof, and they are cumbersome. You have to master them. You have to know exactly what you are doing, because if not, you can get into trouble. So this is good advice as long as it is used properly. Now, this is a bit of an overhang here. This is the position you should cross this segment, which makes it heavy on the arm. Extremely heavy, I can tell you, it hurts. In situations like this, when you need a fast recovery rest, you do this forearm lock. This is how I call it. You put your forearm here, and it helps you to rest for a moment. It hurts as well, but it is easier compared to staying like this. This is heavy on the wrist. So now this is a way more serious bridge, way more serious. It's not high enough, like even if you drop, you'll break some bones, maybe your neck, but you have chances of surviving. Now, this helps us to apply a definite rule of Via Ferrata. When you are on bridges like this, one of the carabiners of elasticated arms is to the left, and then the other one is to the right. So we split the risk. Now, as I told you, on one of them, I also have the resting system. In case something happens, and you never know, the resting system will help you wonders. These bridges here are made to scare you, but they are not dangerous. Like, they are easy to cross. You just push forward. Not to say in this case where we have our arms above a cable, it is extremely safe, extremely easy. Now this gets scary. You see here, this goes on the wall, and you have some drop here. This gets definitely scary. The rule on Via Ferrata is try or learn how to control your fear, because fear will always be there. If you are at the beginning or an expert, fear one way or another will be there.